Fight sticks! If you've been here a while, you know that I love these things. Maybe you've seen my fight stick build videos, or you've come from one of my reviews of different fight stick arcade parts. Anybody who's played an arcade style game knows what these are. A set of clicky joysticks and buttons that's set to replicate the feeling of arcades at home. I've got more of these things than is reasonable, and I'll build more of them than I'll ever need. But I've never done a proper introduction to them, and I always found the resources on them kind of lacking and often hard to follow. So I thought I'd take a shot at it myself. But before we start, let's answer some common questions. So what are the advantages of using the fight stick? Well, compared to a normal controller, these things are huge, which means you got a lot more space to play, and it's much easier to use all of your fingers as opposed to doing all the heavy lifting with your thumbs. This is great for anything with 8-way movement, or games like Street Fighter, which use a 6-button layout that feels much more natural when all set out in a row, as opposed to using the face buttons and shoulder buttons like you'd have to do on a controller. So do I need a fight stick to be good at fighting games? No, absolutely not. A lot of games today are created with controllers in mind, and a lot of professional players even use controllers to compete at a high level. My regular sparring partner uses a controller, and it doesn't stop me from getting my ass beat in every single game that we play. In fact, the learning curve can mean that you'll be worse at the game until you get used to the new controls. As you get better, maybe you want some more performance, but don't think that you need to make or buy one of these things to be any good at the game. Are fight sticks good for more than just fighting games? Yeah, they're great for things like scrolling shooters, rhythm and puzzle games, and I often use them to play modern 2D games or emulating old ones. So where can I find these things? Well, Best Buy, Target, GameStop, Amazon, Newegg, basically any place that sells electronics. They're becoming relatively easy to find, and unless you're looking for like a specific model, which you'll have to find online, you can kind of just walk into a store and pick one up. What buttons should I buy? Now this is getting into some customization questions, but go for some standard Samitsus or Sanwas. They're pretty much the standard across the board, and most arcade sticks are going to be fit for them. Go with Sanwa if you value color variety and fast responses, and Samitsus if you want something that requires a little bit more force before it activates. There's tons of other varieties out there, but these are the standards, and unless you're deep into fight stick building, you're not really going to get much out of going to other styles of buttons. What button layout should I use? Unless you are building your own, you probably won't have much of a choice. The Taito Vuelix button layout has become the standard thanks to the popularity of Street Fighter 4 and how prolific those cabinets are now, and almost every off-the-shelf unit is going to use those. How do I get custom art for them? Well, your options are going to depend on the off-the-shelf unit that you use or the custom case that you're building, but you can get templates for them at focusAttack.com and have them printed there, or you can get your templates, make your art yourself, and have it printed at a local print shop and cut the holes for the buttons yourself with an X-Acto knife. You might also need a custom plexiglass protector, which you can also get at places like Focus Attack. It's really just going to depend on what your unit has out of the box. And now for the big question, should I make a custom fight stick? A question where the resounding answer is usually no. Fuck no, don't do that. Unlike building, say, a custom PC, building an arcade stick isn't actually as cost effective as just buying an off-the-shelf unit, unless you have the experience, materials, and knowledge already on hand. And if you want to customize a stick, well, plenty of off-the-shelf units make it easy to turn it into one of your own. Building a custom stick does have a few advantages though. Custom PCBs often have extra functions. They can support multiple systems. You can create basically any layout or form factor that you want. I mean, you can put in a pizza box, a crate, a book. I've seen people put them into a book, which is pretty cool. As long as it can hold the inside of your wiring and, you know, get your joystick and buttons on top of it, you're good. And most of all, it's just really fun to build things and learn how to do things, and that's kind of its satisfaction on its own. I mean, that's honestly why I have way too many of these things. Okay, with that said, let's get into some plans.